Hi, I am Shri and you are watching Bharat Careers 2047. Do subscribe, like, comment and share our videos. Jai Hind. First, a definition, because this is where most students get confused. Manufacturing a drone, a ship, or a combat vehicle means building the airframe, the hull, the chassis. Systems integration means taking the airframe from one vendor, the payload, camera, radar, or weapon from another, the communication link from a third, the autopilot or navigation stack from a fourth, and making the whole thing fly, sail or drive as one coherent system that a human or an algorithm can command reliably. It's the difference between a car parts factory and the engineering team that makes sure the engine, brakes and infotainment don't fight each other. That integration layer is where India has a massive, currently undersupplied talent gap, and it spans three domains that most career videos treat separately, but the industry increasingly does not: air, UAVs, loitering munitions, swarms, high-altitude logistics drones; land, unmanned ground vehicles, robotic mules, combat UGVs for reconnaissance and EOD; and sea, unmanned surface vessels, autonomous underwater vehicles, underwater launched drones. One engineer's systems integration skill set, sensor fusion, GNC, comms, autonomy software transfers across all three. That's rare in engineering. Your skills aren't locked to one industry vertical. Why is this suddenly a now story and not a 5 years from now story? Two words: Operation Sindoor, and one number: 7.85 lakh crore rupees. In May 2025, Operation Sindoor saw Indian forces neutralize targets using homegrown autonomous drones, electronic warfare, and layered air defense, largely unmanned tech built and integrated in India. The aftermath: deep tech defense funding in India doubled to over $324 million in just the first 4 months of 2026 versus the same period a year earlier. One drone company, Zappa Geo Navigation, saw its order pipeline jump tenfold in a single month. In 2025 alone, India signed 193 defense contracts worth over 2.09 lakh crore rupees, with 177 of those going to domestic industry. This is not a slow burn sector anymore. It re-rated in 12 months. Then came the Union Budget 2026 to 27, a record 7.85 lakh crore rupees defense outlay, up over 15% year on year, with 1.39 lakh crore rupees. That's 75% of the capital acquisition budget, ring-fenced for domestic industry, including private players. Unmanned aerial systems, drone swarms, electronic warfare suites, and surveillance tech are explicitly named budget lines. When a government ring-fences 3/4 of its capital defense spent for domestic companies, that money becomes salaries, and salaries become job postings. On the innovation side, iDEX, Innovations for Defense Excellence, has now backed over 200 startups and awarded more than 350 direct contracts worth upwards of 2,400 crore rupees. Its newest edition, ADITI 4.0, has put out 25 open problem statements from the Army, Navy, Air Force, and even the Space Wing, largely centered on unmanned aerial and ground systems, AI surveillance, and autonomy. And for skilling, the Ministry of Electronics and IT's SwaYaan program runs 6-month certificate programs on drone and UAS technology across 30 institutes, including several IITs. This is a direct government-funded on-ramp into this career, and most engineering students haven't heard of it. And states are now competing for this industry. Maharashtra just approved its Unmanned Systems Policy 2026 to 2031, targeting 25,000 crore rupees in investment, over 1 lakh new jobs, 3 centers of excellence, and certification of 5,000 remote pilots. Expect other states, Karnataka, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh's defense corridor, to follow with their own versions. This is a genuine multi-state industrial policy race, not one company's press release. Segment 1. Air. On the legacy side, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited is scaling UAV and loitering munition work alongside its crewed aircraft business. Tata Advanced Systems Limited runs a full unmanned aerial platforms and systems division under its airborne platforms vertical and is actively hiring as of mid-2026. Adani Defense and Aerospace has built out capabilities spanning drones, counter-drone systems, and defense electronics, and has been running multi-city recruitment drives, Hyderabad among them, through 2026. Bharat Electronics Limited supplies the sensor and electronic warfare backbone that many of these platforms integrate. On the startup side, Rafe M. Fibre has raised the most funding of any Indian drone company, over $145 million, and runs a fully integrated domestic manufacturing stack. IdeaForge just raised 500 crore rupees via QIP and separately secured 151 crore rupees to build Yeti, a heavy-lift autonomous drone for high-altitude military logistics. Think Siachen-grade resupply without a soldier making the trip. Garuda Aerospace, New Space Research and Technologies, an iDEX seeded company, and Zappa Geo Navigation, which is now actually supplying the army, round out a startup bench that's suddenly flush with both capital and orders. Segment 2. C. The segment fewest students think about, and therefore where the competition for jobs is currently thinnest. Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Mazagan Dock build the hulls the Navy needs and are increasingly building the survey and hydrographic vessels that carry unmanned payloads. Cochin Shipyard and L&T's defense shipbuilding arm sit in the same bracket. But the sharpest unmanned systems story here is a Pune-based startup, Sagar Defense Engineering. They've built India's first indigenous weaponized unmanned surface vessel, an armed, uncrewed fast interceptor craft now being inducted by the Navy. They've also won a DRDO Navy contract to build an underwater-launched UAV, a drone that launches from a submarine, flies, and lands back on a moving vessel autonomously. That is systems integration at its most extreme: undersea, surface, and airborne domains in a single mission profile. If you want a segment with less competition and more headline-grabbing work, this is it. Segment 3, Land. DRDO's own R and DE Engineers Lab in Pune has shown off a quadruped robotic mule prototype for autonomous logistics over difficult terrain. Daksh, the bomb disposal robot, was co-developed with Tata Motors, Bharat Electronics, and other partners, a template for how these programs pull in multiple integrators. Bharat Forge, through its Kalyani Strategic Systems arm, and Tata Advanced Systems, are both building out UGV and robotics capability inside larger defense manufacturing operations. And a startup called Gridbots Technologies has unveiled Brute, an indigenous combat unmanned ground vehicle built for reconnaissance, convoy, protection, explosive ordnance disposal, and CBRN missions. Land is the least funded of the three segments right now, which also means it's the segment where a sharp systems integration engineer can become indispensable fastest, simply because fewer people are competing for those seats. One clarifying point before we move on: don't confuse a components company, motor makers, battery makers, camera gimbal makers with an integrator. There are over 500 drone-related startups tracked in India today, but a much smaller number actually own end-to-end systems integration, taking multiple subsystems and vendors and delivering a mission-ready platform. That smaller list, the ones we've just named, is where the systems integration job titles actually live. Target those first. Here are the actual job titles opening up over the next 18 to 36 months across these companies. Write these down. They're what you should be searching on LinkedIn and Naukri, not generic terms like drone job, systems integration engineer, Avionics/payload, integration engineer, GNC engineer, that's guidance, navigation and control, autonomy/autopilot, software engineer, ground control station engineer, RFN communications engineer, test and validation engineer, marine/naval systems integration engineer for the sea segment, robotics/UGV mechatronics engineer for the land segment, systems engineer, MBC, model-based systems engineering, and increasingly, cybersecurity engineer for autonomous systems, because a hacked drone or ship is now a genuine national security conversation, not a hypothetical. Qualifications, aerospace and mechanical engineering remain the core feeder branches, but electronics and communication, computer science with a robotics or embedded focus, instrumentation, and for the sea segment specifically, naval architecture and marine engineering are increasingly in demand and less crowded. An MBA layered on top of any of these opens business development, program management, and BD with government roles at these same companies, genuinely useful if you're 1 or 2 years post-engineering and doing an MBA now. A CFA or finance background matters less here directly, but defense-focused equity research and program finance roles at these companies and their investors do exist and are growing given the funding surge we just covered. The technical stack to actually build, in priority order, ROS or ROS2 for robotics middleware, MATLAB/Simulink for control systems and simulation, PX4 or ArduPilot open source autopilot stacks. Genuinely get hands-on with these. They're free. GNSS/INS navigation fundamentals, embedded systems and real-time operating systems, basic RF and communications theory, link budget, spectrum, jamming and anti-jamming concepts, hugely relevant post-Sindoor. Systems engineering fundamentals, INCOS-style thinking, requirements traceability, and a DGCA remote pilot certificate, even if you're aiming for an engineering role, not a pilot role. Holding this certificate signals genuine hands-on seriousness to a recruiter, and it's obtainable through DGCA-approved centers, including IIT Guwahati's Center for Drone Technology, which runs India's largest remote pilot training organization. For a formal on-ramp, the SwaYaan program, a Ministry of Electronics and IT initiative, offers 6-month UAS certificate courses across 30 institutes, including IIT Guwahati, IIT Kanpur's Drone Center of Excellence, and IIT Ahmedabad's IITR-AM Drone Technology Program. These are built specifically to feed this hiring wave. If your engineering college doesn't have a dedicated UAS lab, one of these programs is your fastest credible substitute, and it looks considerably better on a resume than a generic online certificate. If you're in your final year, this semester, pick a project, any project that touches autonomy, embedded control, or comms, not just a generic app. Enroll in SwaYaan or a DGCARPC course over a break. Target one iDEX/ADITI adjacent hackathon before you graduate. If you're 1 to 2 years into your career already, a lateral move into a systems integration role from adjacent electronics, software, or mechanical roles is entirely realistic. Frame your resume around integration, testing, and cross-subsystem debugging experience you already have, because that is exactly the muscle this job needs. That's the full map. What this career actually is, why 2026 is the moment, who's hiring across land, sea and air, what it pays and exactly how to prepare. If this saved you a semester of confusion, hit subscribe. Bharat Careers 2047 breaks down one high-growth, India-specific career every single week, and this sector is moving fast enough that we'll be back with an update before the year is out. Drop a comment telling us which segment, land, sea or air, you're aiming for, and I'll personally reply with the one course or certification I'd start with. See you in the next one. Hope you liked this episode of Bharat Careers 2047. Do comment, like, share and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more exciting episodes ahead.